This is USVI News, your Virgin Islands connection.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. We begin with continuing coverage of the deadly helicopter crash this week in St. Thomas. The entire VI community is remembering all 4 victims on board who died when the helicopter went down in Botany Bay Monday afternoon. Our USVI News' Ali Bourne-Vanek shows us how the community's coping and remembering 4 amazing people gone too soon.
It's been a heartbreaking week with grief throughout the territory after a deadly helicopter crash Monday in St. Thomas took the lives of 4 deeply loved people. It's almost impossible to find someone who didn't know pilot Maria Rodriguez, along with Daniel Yohan, Nisha Zahn, and their son Tyler. At Antilles School, many gathered Wednesday for a heartfelt tribute for the victims, including Tyler, who was a senior.
Tyler just loved flying. He was just, as you guys know, he was way into it.
A gentle breeze passed as the school community stood together, listening to an Antilles alum as he presented a helicopter blade to honor Tyler, who is an aspiring pilot. Pictures, flowers, teddy bears, and the helicopter blade paid tribute to Maria, Tyler, and his parents. Students one by one wrote notes to their classmate, trying to find words at a time it's hard to speak.
This is a difficult time for everyone. Everybody is grieving. Everyone feels the immense loss of these 4 people that we all knew and loved, and we all knew them differently, but loved them the same. They're human beings, and they were all very good people. And, like I've said, between the 4 of them, they pretty much touched about every life here on St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands and beyond.
Jeff Neville is the pastor at St. Thomas Reformed Church, where Daniel, Nisha, and Tyler were a part of the church family.
I'm just really grateful for having known this wonderful family, Daniel, Nisha, and Tyler, and what they meant to our church and me personally. They weren't just parishioners, they were dear friends of mine, and feeling the loss like everyone else, and I'm going to grieve like everyone else. But I also know my role as a pastor, and I want to help lead people through the valley of the shadow of death. And we will fear no evil, because your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And we'll walk through the valley together, and we'll come to the other side. And that's where our hope lies. So I'll do my best to pastor this church and this community through this grief for all of us, for the Caribbean Buzz family, for the Rodriguez family, and for the Yohans and the Zahns, and for our own Reformed Church family, for the Antilles family, for the whole community. We'll grieve together, and we'll get through this.
In St. Thomas, Ali Bourne-Vanek, USVI News.
What a wonderful tribute, and our thoughts and our prayers from everybody here at USVI News goes out to the family of the victims. And we want to get you the latest now on the positive COVID-19 cases in the territory. They've gone down since the beginning of the week. There are currently 85 active cases. St. Thomas is seeing the most, with 60 people currently testing positive, 22 in St. Croix and 3 in St. John. The Virgin Islands Health Department is doing a great job of vaccinating those in the territory, as it's now vaccinating people in Phase 1C. And despite experiencing short-term delays, Moderna says it expects to meet its commitment to the U.S. government for all ordered doses of its coronavirus vaccine. Moderna says short-term production delays recently led to a delay in the release of some doses. However, Moderna says the delays are expected to be resolved soon and are not expected to impact monthly delivery targets. The company says it still expects to meet its commitment with the U.S. government for 100 million doses by the end of March. Moderna also says it has moved up the delivery for the second 100 million doses from the end of June to the end of May. And more good news, the third 100 million doses has been moved up from the end of September to the end of July. Moderna says so far it has supplied 45.4 million doses of the vaccine to the U.S. government. And as coronavirus vaccinations continue to increase in the VI, many pregnant women remain wary about getting the shot. Doctors say it is a personal decision, and pregnant women need to consider the known risks of contracting the virus.
Pregnancy, both a wonderful and worrisome time as concerns about the health of the developing baby weigh on a mom's mind. Now add the issue of COVID-19. The American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists lobbied to include pregnant and breastfeeding women in vaccine groups, noting that upwards of half of pregnant individuals also fall into another high priority category, including frontline workers and those with underlying medical conditions like hypertension, obesity, and diabetes.
It is a very personal decision for each individual woman whether or not to accept the vaccine.
Dr. Tara Lynch is a maternal and fetal medicine specialist at Albany Med. She tells women to consider the known risks of contracting COVID during pregnancy when making their vaccine decision. She says there's data showing pregnant women who contract COVID are sicker and have more severe forms of the illness, which in turn puts the developing baby at risk.
We know that there is an increased risk of preterm birth. There is an increased risk that women will need to go to the ICU and be intubated. And that needs to be counterbalanced against the only theoretical risks of receiving the vaccine.
Theoretical, says Dr. Lynch, because there's so little published data. However,
because the way that the vaccine is designed, a lot of experts don't actually believe that there would be any increased risks for the fetus. We don't believe that it crosses the placenta.
That is positive news. Now, Dr. Lynch says no red flags have been seen at this point, but she expects more data to be available in the coming months because some 10,000 pregnant women have been in trials since the vaccine first got emergency use authorization. But bottom line, the vaccination decision needs to be made in consultation with your doctor. More than $1 million will be handed out to 18 local organizations across the VI for recovery, revitalization, and building efforts. The Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands has awarded more than $1.4 million in funding to support ongoing hurricane recovery efforts with a goal to enhance the well-being of residents and ecosystems across the territory. The bulk of the grant funding, $1 million, is made possible through the CFVI Friends and Family Fund, which was established back in September 2017 following Hurricanes Irma and Maria. In the 3 years following the 2017 hurricanes, CFVI has distributed more than $16 million in grants, scholarships, and other contributions to support relief and recovery efforts. Some of the organizations getting a share of the funding include the Children's Museum of St. Croix, the Island Green Living Association in St. John, and the Virgin Islands Village Academy in St. Thomas. So for a full list of the organizations that are receiving grants, go to our website, usvicbs.com. In addition to coronavirus relief, President Joe Biden is moving quickly on another campaign promise. This time, it's America's infrastructure. USVI News Washington correspondent Matt Knadler has been looking into the details to see what it could mean for the territory.
On the campaign trail, then candidate Joe Biden proposed a $2 trillion infrastructure package. Now as president, he's already meeting with top congressional leaders to make that a reality.
The president, vice president, secretary, and senators established the mutual understanding that America needs to build new infrastructure across urban and rural areas and create millions of good-paying jobs.
Biden has pledged to make clean and green energy a centerpiece of the project. Industry experts say that if done correctly, a sweeping infrastructure package could fulfill the administration's top goals.
These are investments that generate a real return, whether it's an economic return, a quality of life return, a health and safety return. It's not just about spending money, it's about investing it in people's lives.
That $2 trillion price tag would be on top of Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package. But many members of Congress support some sort of deal, including Hawaii Congressman Kai Kahele, who is on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee.
Diversifying Hawaii's economy, investing in aging public infrastructure is something that's going to be really important.
So what does this mean for you? Well, we're not just talking about road and bridge projects like this one here along Interstate 66 connecting Northern Virginia to Washington, D.C. We're talking about things you use every day right in your own home, like increasing access to high-speed internet.
That's a great opportunity to grow more businesses in rural America because using that digital marketplace to be able to sell services and goods.
Biden is expected to further outline his infrastructure plans during his joint address to Congress, which has not yet been scheduled. In Washington, Matt Knadler reporting.
Meantime, a final proposal for a new federal stimulus bill is expected to be completed this week. The House Budget Committee has been putting together a proposal which is expected to be brought to the House floor next week. It includes enhanced unemployment assistance of $400 a week through August 29th. It would also include more than $350 billion to state and local governments and $14 billion for vaccine distribution. The main part of the House plan, however, are $1,400 stimulus checks for anyone making less than $75,000 per year.